it makes a big deal.
Yeah.
It makes a big deal, like, where you are. So imagine, like, doing a flip and not knowing how close you are to the ground. Or sort of like closing your eyes and doing it without practicing.
Yeah.
No, what I really enjoyed is watching them, and because I think there might have been a typhoon or hurricane or tsunami or something going on in Japan,
Yeah.
and watching them have to tack, which is where they jump from one side of the boat to the other side, adjust the ropes, and they'd be racing across, and then have to change sides again, and then when they get to the buoys, like they're turning around, it was just a complete dog's breakfast,
Yeah.
and it just became a shambles of everyone's in line waiting essentially to be able to make this turn. And it was just the most enjoyable part because you're just like, holy shit, watching these cut in, and yeah, you'd see so many sharks that they're just cutting in the line. So I enjoyed watching the sailing.
Well, the sailing was not just now. I was watching it just before you came. It was the final round. The Aussie guy,
I don't know.
someone won. He'd already sealed gold medal going into the final thing. So no matter what happens in that last race, he's got golds. Imagine that.
He's locked it in the bag.
Imagine that. He's just like, oh, I'll go for a chill sail.
What do you do? Just look at the water? Like, do you even sail on course?
Yeah, like he was off to the right, but he's still going as fast as everyone else.
Actually, one thing I've never understood is how do they determine who's leading?
Yeah, because it was like, oh, this person's in first by 3 meters. It's like, I don't know, because I didn't watch the full race, and I've never watched the full sailing thing. So they have to go to, because I thought it was legs.
So each buoy
leg is going around the buoy.
Each leg is a buoy. So you've got to pass certain markers or go through certain markers to satisfy each leg. And it might be 7 legs. So you've got to go through or pass 7 buoys. But in between that, you can go which way you want. Now, it makes sense to go to the direct way, but then depending on the wind, it may not make that much sense. So everyone clutters in at this buoy to complete the leg, and then the field just spreads out completely. But then how do they figure out? Because they say you've got South Korea in first, Switzerland in second, 7 meters behind. The next person is 14. How are you figuring this out?
Yeah, it's a weird one where it's like, we don't know who's winning till the last stage, maybe, when they get past that final buoy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this guy's clearly in front. It's...
Because you could I feel like you could just slingshot everyone by just being so far behind, but then the wind throws you up there, and then you're back at the... I don't know how you figure that out.
It's a weird one. There's obviously people who are really good who clearly are better than others, like this Aussie guy who's already won going into it. Like, he obviously won enough legs where he's like, yeah, he's clearly the best guy. So there's so much technique and just knowledge of...
One of the BMX girls, Saya, Australian girl, she had a similar situation in the semi-finals just to qualify to go to the finals for the BMX riding, where she just needed to finish her race. Just needed to finish, that's all it was. And she couldn't because I think it was an American person in front of her crashed. She just got swept up in that crash. Gone. She couldn't get up. She couldn't finish.
It's so brutal. It's one of the things I love about the Olympics, and one of the things that's also, it's so heartbreaking where there's no second chances. Like, if something goes wrong in that race, like in that one moment, well, it's not even necessarily your fault if someone crashed in front of you, you hit them. That's it. Come back in 4 years if you're good enough. Like, that's it. That's your one chance to get through.
And that's,
and
I think,
she was...
Well, it's the hard part as well, because a lot of the sports, the Olympics is the big thing. So it's not like, well, next year we got a world champion. Come back 4 years.
Yeah, 4
See you
years
later.
when you have the whole world watching. Because the world championships, while they're like, it's great for the people in the sports.
Some of them don't have world championships.
Yeah,
some of them, it is the Olympics.
And if you want the exposure where you're going to actually probably make a career out of it, it's probably a lot easier if you're successful in the Olympics to get a lot of people knowing who you are. Especially now when at least everyone in Australia is just sitting watching the Olympics. Because we're not allowed to do anything else. So it's like, all right, let's go just sit down, watch the Olympics. It's brutal. But the same thing in like the 100 meters. I was watching the heats. And there were just 3 guys. You jump the gun, you're disqualified. Jump the gun. One guy jumps it. They give everyone a warning saying, all right.
So what was the first guy that jumped it? What was how do they determine?
So apparently it's a reaction time quicker than 0.1 is considered a false start. So that's obviously where they jump the gun. It's after the gun's been shot. but they're not necessarily waiting. They probably just anticipate it and anticipate it well. So they're jumping it just before the actual gun goes off. So there was a British guy, I can't remember his name, who jumped the first one. He got a warning. Then that same race...
What was his reaction time? The guy.
His reaction was like 0.95 or 0.93. It was the quickest. Like his was by far the most, or he jumped the gun the quickest in terms of not doing it right. And then right after the next guy does it, he gets disqualified. There's your Olympics done. I think some Nigerian kid who was meant to be one of the favourites too. But it's so brutal. You're slightly too fast. And the reaction, this is what I don't get. Like the reaction is after the gun's gone off. Like 0.09 is too quick. You can't react too quickly. Like how does that make sense? Because it's obviously them.
I guess it makes
guessing because they're they know that they've jumped it before it's actually been shot.
I guess there's probably routine in that it takes a certain amount of time for someone to say on your marks, a certain amount of time to say get set. You can accurately determine when the go or the gun is going to fire. So then people look for that.
Yeah,
because that 0.05 of a second is a big difference.
Huge, yeah.
When we're talking about like 10 seconds and everyone's within 1 second of each other, like 0.05 of a second is massive. So maybe, but is it possible to have that quick of a reaction time?
You mustn't be. It must be like you can't physically react that quickly. That's why it's like
you got lucky guessing, and you weren't cheating, but you got lucky guessing. Fuck you.
That must be what it is. That's brutal.
That's tough. That's tough though.
Because those 100-meter sprinters, a lot of countries, they're the guy. Like they're the pole bearer. They're the ones who's walking around.
Everyone looks to the 100-meter sprinters.
Yeah, I think one was from Togo. It's like I don't think there were many other athletes from that country. Like that's such a brutal thing, but it's by far the most entertaining, in my opinion. The most entertaining event is the 100-meter sprint.
Well, we had an Aussie guy as well.
Aussie guy,
Rowan Browning, quick. 10.04, I think his time was.
I think it was 10.01.
01? Wow.
And he was the sixth fastest of all the heats.
Wow.
So, I mean, if he goes that fast again, that comparison, he'd be in the final.
Do you reckon?
I don't know. Because they reckon, this is another thing, apparently some of these guys at the end in the sprints, they like back off a bit. They just don't fully exert themselves for the last 20 metres in a 100 metres.
Can I just say as well, one of the things I love about the Olympics is how immersed we all get for like 2 weeks into everything. Like I've gotten into the sailing, which I didn't expect to be in. Like whether it's the 100 metres, the beach volleyball, everyone like becomes somewhat of an armchair expert.
Yeah.
I love it. No, we are, because we're like, no, like we talk about the way I've been talking about Dressel and Ledecky. It's like I've been following for 2 years.
Oh yeah, you see them do really good at one race. You hear the commentator say they've been really good, and you're like, I back up for the next one for sure. Yeah.
And then I'm watching it with friends in the next race. I'm like, oh, you got to watch out for lane 4. Dressel's got this one. And
it's of course. I mean, we take in all the information, boom, we all automatically know what's going on.
We take in, but some of the analysis have been good. Ian Thorpe's been good to listen to on some of his breakdowns of the swimming, and maybe that's why I became such an expert in such a short period of time.
He had a good breakdown of the because this morning was the 4x100 medley, the relay, where he was breaking down that on the changeovers is where Australia won it because we ended up taking home gold. He's like, the total changeover time. So, when one finishes, the other jumps in. For Australia, it was 0.49 seconds. The Americans who came second was 1.2 seconds.
Holy
And we won by like 0.01 or something. So, it's like...
The changeover times won us the medal.
That's how tense it is. It's like, who's the ballsiest? Because I guess the reason you would wait that fraction of a second longer is so you don't risk jumping in too early. So, you got to have balls to be like, as soon as they touch, you're going. You're doing it at exactly the right time. It's so, I don't know why, but I got so excited. I was like screaming at the TV, like, go on, McEwen.
I'm like that, yeah.
Oh, it's so exciting. It was good to see Matt Temple, who we interviewed, when he was racing. I was like screaming at the TV, come on, Matt, you got it next time, you nailed it.
Matt Temple did well. He got the bronze in the 4x100 men's freestyle relay, and then another bronze in the 4x100 mixed individual medley relay.
Yeah.
So that's 2 guys, 2 girls. New event.
Yeah.
Cool concept. But that was... How did we do that one? I think went girl, guy for Australia. But you can choose your order. You can choose whether you've got a guy swimming backstroke or girl swimming backstroke, doesn't matter. But
I think
but you can mix and match.
A lot of the relay events, whatever. He was the butterfly because that was his event.
Yes.
Like he's clearly our best men butterfly in those short distances at least. Like he killed it. He had a great Olympic.
Yeah.
Well, Australia on the whole, swimming, that's where we get our medals.
Yes.
We got 9 golds.
Yeah, swimming has done very well for us. Another person that's could be getting a medal for us that we've spoken to is Harry as well.
Harry
Garside, the boxer. Check out that episode. One of my favourite episodes,
Yeah,
personally.
it was really good. I really enjoyed that.
But he's fighting again tonight it will be, but when you listen to this, at 7:30, so in 2.5 hours, he'll be fighting in the round of 8. I'm not sure who he's against yet. I don't think it's been figured out because we're still waiting on other results to come through. But he's getting close.
He's been good. I think the last fight he kind of dominated, didn't he?
The other guy, Jonas was the guy.
He was like third ranked or third seed or something. Like he was So Harry's looking good.
Yeah.
Harry's looking very good. A couple more coming. Like we've got
2 down, 3 to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, undecided who will be versing next. But Suflin. Zed Suflin.
Where's he from?
Don't know. I don't recognise the flag.
It might be the Russian Olympic Committee.
No, it's not that one. How do you feel about that?
Are they disqualified or are they not? Like, obviously, I don't understand why it's under the Russian Olympic Committee. Because they used to do it where it was like what do they say? A nation that's not...
Because they're not representing the country of Russia, but your name's
representing the Russian Olympic Committee. Like, you are representing Russia. I don't understand that. Just say it's Russia, then, if you're going to let them compete like that.
How are they getting away with it, though? Because you're Russia.
What do you think it is, money? I'm sure Russia contributes a lot to the Olympic Committee. It's like, look, just put Russian Olympic Committee. Don't worry about Russia flag.
We forget.
Everyone knows by the names. It's Russia anyway. Like, it's fine. You see enough K's and U's and all.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
If the name ends with KUV enough.
Yeah.
Klitschkov.
Yeah.
Victor.
Like, I don't get it. I don't get why bother doing Russian Olympic Committee. I don't understand the rationale. Just because that flag is so important. Like, I don't...
But it's a different flag.
It is, but we know, everyone knows by now, after you see, what's ROC? Someone says Russian Olympic Committee. It's Russia. Okay, so who's banned, who's not? I don't remember all the details of how long they were meant to be banned for.
2 years. It was meant to be 4 years. It's been cut down to 2.
Yeah.
So it's just this Olympics.
Yeah.
That's all they're banned for.
But they're not.
But then, no.
Unless you were just obviously an athlete who got tested positive. It's so strange to me that they even... I don't get it.
I think if you're banned, you shouldn't be competing.
No, exactly. Like, that's why I don't understand. What is the taking away of the flag? I mean, I don't know.
Oh, the pride. The pride.
They can't run around after they win with the flag on their back. They have to have
which no one's doing at the moment because they got no one to give them the flipping flag. You know how like someone in the crowd will give them the flag or might be their family?
Yeah.
Who's giving it to them?
I mean, look here. Have they won anything? I mean...
Athletics-wise?
Yeah, I don't know. What have the Russians been winning? Have they...
I don't know.
I mean...
sorry, are you talking about like in athletics or how many medals have Russia won?
Yeah, Russia, I would imagine they've severely underperformed compared to...
No, I don't know what they'd typically like, but they've got 11 medals.
You got 11?
Yeah, so they're coming in 5th. We're 4th.
All right, well...
So, I mean, they're doing okay.
They're doing all right.
Yeah.
They don't need the steroids, guys. You can be competitive without them.
Hang on, they've still got the steroids, guys. They're just not as Russia. That's where you're wrong. Because if we're taking steroids, we're no longer insulting the country of Russia.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Yeah, 100%. It's just the Olympic Committee we're insulting if they get caught.
And I thought the difference was the funding. I thought, okay, Russia's no longer able to fund these athletes, that they've got to fund themselves because that was the issue with the doping. It was a statewide, which means Russia is paying for the doping of these athletes. And Australia did the same thing with camps and training programs leading up to the Olympics with their athletes. So I thought with Russia being banned, they weren't able to provide funding and training for the athletes going to Tokyo. But they can still provide funding. So I thought it was athletes had to pay for their own drugs.
Yeah.
But it's not even that. Russia is still doing it. It's just we're the Russian Olympic Committee.
Yeah, and they'd be getting funding from, Vladimir Putin's best mate, who he takes all his money from because every billionaire in Russia has to give a cut to Putin. So Putin's in his ear saying, "You will fund my athletes, and I will let you keep your business." like in the Formula One, that they literally one of the racing teams, Haas. There's a Russian. He's the son of a Russian billionaire. He's like a decent Formula One driver, but not a good at that level, but he's Russian. He's the son of this billionaire. He comes in, he funds the team, he drives. It's got to be the same for Russia, where he's just like, okay, you fund my teams. I can't do it as the government, but you can do it as individual business, and we still get gold medal, still have pride.
Breaking news, the Olympics is corrupt.
What? Well... You're kidding. Breaking news, FIFA is corrupt. What?
Stop. Oh, man. But what about
Next
some...
you're going to say boxing's rigged sometime. Oh, don't say that.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Simone Biles?
Pulled out because, wasn't feeling it.
She wasn't feeling it, but she said that I think it's changed a little bit because she pulled out of the team event because she said mental health issues. But then a couple of other things came out. She said she had the twisties, which is a gymnastics term, which just means you lose your sense of place and time, your body's sense of space and time.
Right.
Which
seems like a big deal for gymnastics.
Well, when you're doing flips and doing 3 revolutions in the air before landing on one foot, it makes a big deal.
Yeah.
It makes a big deal, like where you are. So imagine like doing a flip and not knowing how close you are to the ground. Or sort of like closing your eyes and doing it without practicing.
Yeah, like it's a bit intense, bit dangerous.
You know how like we freak out when we close our eyes walking?
Yeah.
Because we don't like, oh shit, where's the fridge? like that's...
Middle of the night, you're trying to get your way to the bathroom without knocking into everything.
They don't know where they are while they're doing a 360-degree flip before hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And we expect them to land it perfectly. So that's the twisties. And it's... terrible condition to have in gymnastics because it just means the likelihood of paralysis, just paralyzing yourself, is very likely. And she had a very bad, I think it was a vault experience or a pole vault experience where she landed poorly, missed it, but no terrible outcome.
Yeah,
she avoided it, but I think it was after that they realized, hang on, something's wrong here, and that was when she pulled out. And then it turns out she's on ADHD medication.
This is what I heard, the ADHD one, yeah.
Where I think it's Ritalin, which she's been on since Rio Olympics, at least.
Yeah. And
now she's not allowed to take it in Tokyo.
Because it's illegal. They can only use it for other conditions or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
That's what I heard.
So it's been 5 years of probably taking this drug, probably taking it for more than 5 years before Rio.
Yeah.
Which is illegal. You're allowed to take it for the Olympics. No big deal there.
It's just an ADHD. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just another med. But now not taking it, you'd probably be withdrawing a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
As in a lot.
Yeah, like...
You take something for 5 years.
And it is something that improves focus. Like, essentially,
yes.
So if you're then used to that, then imagine trying to regain that focus that she's probably just maintained the normal level of focus from taking it.
Have you ever tried quitting coffee?
Yeah.
Imagine that on...
I mean, just the headaches and you're just like, oh.
Yeah, the brain fog, the headaches.
See, I have no problem with her pulling out because, like, literally, you're serving yourself, right? Like, the team still did, they got silver. They didn't win
They got silver.
Gold. I mean, okay, that's good. That's still pretty good. Like, do you see a massive, like, issue with her pulling out? Because if they're legitimate reasons where it's like, who are we to say if she's even feel up to it and you got to push through it? Like, what do you have to prove? Especially she's already like a gold medalist. She's considered like a pioneer in the sport where she does all these shit other people can't do. Like, at what point is it like, all right, she's just like, fuck it. I don't need to prove anything. I don't feel right. I don't want to paralyze myself.
Well, it's a weird
I kind of feel empathetic towards it.
I do too, because everyone expects her to want to perform, but I imagine she does too.
Yeah, of course. Imagine she's copying it the worst. I assure you. Like, she's knows what comes with pulling out of an Olympics. She knows.
But
what's
I
gonna
don't
come
think
up.
she probably doesn't want to pull out, and she just goes like, "This is probably the best decision I can make to pull out, because I'm withdrawing bad, and I don't even know where the fuck my body's at."
It's actually an incredibly mature decision to make in a world where it's like, no, just push through. This is the Olympics. Just go out there, give it your best, do it. Like, no, it's actually probably going to end up. I'll put on a terrible display. I'll get more critique for underperforming when actually being out there when I knew I wasn't in the right headspace. And then if I say it later, it's just an excuse for why I didn't do well. Like, it actually makes a lot of sense that why would you even bother? Especially when it's like that, where you are jumping, you are flipping, you are.
But
You can hurt
the
yourself.
flip side to that is you're representing a country. There are a lot of other people who represent their country, fighters, warriors, who go to war for your country. Can you not push through?
But that's a different.
That's the flip side, though.
It is. But this is also it's athletics. It's not
I understand.
life or death.
I understand.
I see your point of view, but it's like there are different scales to this game. Like if you're,
But Olympics is the Olympics.
yeah, but you're letting down. Who are you letting down? Like your team, the other gymnasts.
I think a lot of people were let down by it. Now, whether they should have felt let down or not, I don't think they should have. But I think a lot of people were let down from it.
But I think the level of consequence and the repercussions of the letdown is very minimal for someone not performing well in Olympics. I guess if you're betting, then you have actually something to lose from that. But it's like literally, it's her and her teammates around her, so if they're okay with it, if they understand the reasoning and they don't feel let down, like as people watching, I want to see Australia do well, but if they don't, it's okay.
England didn't feel that way when they lost the Euros.
Well, England are nuts. Those
England-
football
but-
fans are stupid.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but that's almost too level-headed of a thing to say.
Of course, that's why I think
Actually, it is a
it's a really mature thing she did by pulling out when she knew she wasn't ready to compete, or she knew she was going to not be able to give it her all.
I just wonder, because I agree. I think, like hearing the no ADHD medication, the twisties, it makes a lot of sense. But well, here's what I think. I really resonated with Patrick Tin in the 10,000 meter runner for Australia. We're collapsing. He collapsed twice, ended up finishing the race, got a season's best time. And he goes, well, what? I was not going to finish it. I had 80 meters to go. It's the Olympics. And like, I fuck with that.
And of course, I think if it was Simone Biles' first Olympics and she hadn't achieved anything in it, she might have pushed through and competed. I think there's different stages where you've already done it, you've already been successful there, you're already considered the greatest. I think there's a lot of factors in it. I resonate with that too. I like when you're in the middle of it and you're in the thick of it, and it's whether you finish or not and pushing through that. That's also admirable. But I think being able to see that you're not in a place where you're going to do well and pull out, that's also a admirable trait, an admirable thing to do. I think they can both be good things. One is obviously more like, yeah, you push through, yeah, you can get more people behind it. Well, I can understand both. And I think both are good. One is more exciting to watch, where he's like he collapsed there. I was watching that. And I was like,
So
is he going to get there?
I didn't watch it. I was only able to see the last 20 seconds. Did he collapse with 300 meters to go as well? Because I read that.
Yeah. He was, when it came to the last, because it's 27 laps or whatever.
Yeah.
When it was he was right with the front group.
This is the 10,000 meter race.
Yeah, 10,000 meter.
On track.
Yeah. When it came to the last 2 laps, I was like, oh, he's got a shot here.
He was the back of the lead pack.
He was the back of the lead pack. And when in those lead packs, it's kind of, it doesn't matter where
You're
you
there.
are then.
Yeah.
If you got that last stitch.
Until the last 200
The last
meters.
2 laps, the other guys started to break away and show their ridiculous pace at that stage. But yeah, right at the end, he started to, it was on the home straight. You could see, I remember watching it because the guy came first, second, third, they were finishing, and you could see in the background that he was just struggling.
He started to swerve.
Yeah.
He was the
He's
drunk driver at 3 a.m. on the road.
It's like when you see those marathon runners where it's towards the end, it's just they start to collapse. And that's it's incredible to see because he pushed it. He gave it literally everything he had.
He got there. He pushed
And
himself.
Then he got back up, didn't get helped up. No one like helped him across the track. He got there. And it's like, that's
Still with the
awesome.
season best.
Still the season best. That's how much he pushed it. Like, because he was almost essentially walking pace that last 300 meters. But yeah, no, he was right with it. They're quick. It's like the rate that they run at 10,000 meter, you're just like, what the hell is like? That's a different level of human. Like,
Yeah.
that is
Most people can't sprint at the race they're running at for 10
they're
kilometers.
quick.
Yeah.
Quick. It's ridiculous. Man.
And it's so cutthroat. Has the 1500 meter races been run yet?
15, I can't.
I don't know if they have.
I know
but,
tracks on. There's more track on tonight. 1500 meter. I don't remember. I've seen 3000 meter.
Yeah.
I want the women's 100 meter final. That was great. Jamaica took 1, 2, and 3. They just dominated. It's like holy shit.
Yeah. So the 1500 meter I think starts tomorrow for the women's. But no, because I love watching the 1500 meters because it is so strategic because it's 3 3/4 laps around the track, and so one of my mates runs the 1500 meter, not running in the Olympics, but just the strategy that goes into the 1500 meter race. I think Rio was run I think it was 3 minutes 40. I think that was the time, give or take a couple of seconds, but that's not quick. Everyone else will run it quicker.
Yeah.
But what they'll do is they'll slow everyone down. So for that last lap, it's a sprint. It's an all-out sprint. It's a 400 meter sprint. So these guys are cruising for just over 1 kilometer until that last lap. And my mate goes, yeah, like hitting the time that won the Rio Olympics in 2016 is easy. It's very easy to run that time and win.
Yeah.
But doing it in the environment that you're put in and the strategy that surrounds it, and it's not just overtake. It's not that easy to do because
overtake the other guy who's
because
also got the energy to sprint
you could be boxed in. It's your position in with the other 15 other people, but then how do you move to the back, get to the outside, and not have anyone want to run with you? And then you're taking on the wind. You're expending so much more energy trying to get to that position to then hold it. It's super fascinating to watch because it just becomes a massive showdown at the very end.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it is the last lap. It's crazy that phenomenal to watch.
A similar thing happened in the 1500 meter swimming. I was watching that this morning. The gold medal event. There were 4 of them. They reckon this is like the closest ever in a final at Olympics. The top 4 have been going into the last 200 meters.
Wow.
So again, they said it wasn't a particularly quick one. It was slow leading up into it. And in that last 50 meters, the guy who had the better 50 meter time just cruised out from third to first because he had enough energy left, and it just became an all-out sprint. So the tactics I don't even think about because I never did any track and field growing up. I did sprinting for maybe 2 sessions, and I'm like, I'll play soccer. That's why I don't feel like doing this stuff. But there's so much tactics going into it. Same thing with the steeplechase. I watched one of them today. Fuck that, by the way.
Yeah.
Running 3,000 meters, jumping every couple of hundred meters. It's just no. That to me seems like the most daunting event in the Olympics. It's ridiculous.
The thing about running is you try and find your rhythm. Once you find a rhythm, it gets easier. So then you throw a hurdle in that every 100 meters or 150 meters, whatever the distance is between them, and it becomes very difficult because you're using a very different energy system because now you've got to be able to produce power to propel yourself over this barrier in front of you.
So whatever you're jumping into water, you're like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
What?
And then that's
these
it's surprisingly well. I mean, maybe it isn't surprisingly, but that water jump is incredibly difficult as well because you've got to propel yourself enough forward, and then you're not landing on a flat surface as well. So this is just more. If you run on the sand, it's way more difficult than running on concrete because there's no stable surface. So every other little muscle in your body has to work harder to stabilize itself. So when you're landing on a diagonal surface, in the water, you're just working even harder. It's just, you're just using so many other parts that, like, just doing a typical run, it's just layers.
Yeah, you forget. Like, I forget every 4 years. Like, these events exist, and I'm like, these are crazy. Like,
Yeah.
how fast that they're running this, and there's tactics in that one as well because they kept going on about the heats. Like, you want to be in a fast heat because if you don't get in one of those automatic qualifying, if the tactics of that race just happen to be a slower one, because the person who was going to qualify automatically wanted to dictate the pace and they kept it like that, you're screwed. You've got to try and, like, there are so many decisions you have to make just running around the track. It's like, there's a lot more than just run. Go for goal. It's like...
It's well, just
Olympics
all
are
those
amazing. So
sports,
exciting.
which is, I think, why it's awesome, because it's a period of time where it's like, okay, for 2 weeks I can become fully immersed in this. I can listen, bring in as much information as possible, and you start to become an expert at the sport. You sort of do, because you start to hear everything. They've got good commentators. You're taking in all this good information on it, and you learn a hell of a lot, and then you get to watch. And for me, there's something about watching someone, or having someone to support and having someone to be against. And a lot of these people you don't know, or some of them you do, some of we do, I guess. But being told, like, we're going for this person with the green swimming cap on or the yellow swimming cap on, and we don't want the American, the black cap, to win. Like just being told who you want to win just makes it so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes for me, like the soccer, I don't really care until it comes to the World Cup, because it's like, oh, I know who I want to win.
Australia.
It's Australia, like, or Greece. But being told who you want to win just makes it so much better.
You have to have a rooting interest for sport. Like,
Yeah.
you have to. Like, I used to say I watch it, I just want to see a good game. That's a lie. Like, I want to see, for whatever reason, if I'm watching a game, there's one team I want to win more than the other. Doesn't even need to make sense, but when going into it, I'm going for that team. I'm going for that person. Don't know why. I will just pick someone and I will root for them to win, because it just makes it more fun. Because you win or lose, it's not like, oh, well, everyone... No, someone wins, someone loses.
And the Olympics tell you.
Yeah, the Olympics tell you, I want the green one.
Yes.
Or if there's a country, for whatever reason, I'm like at the moment, like, I want them to win too. Don't know why. I want them to win too.
What's your thoughts on diving? Because to me, it's just, what am I watching here?
Which one were you, like, watching? Where you... Was it the 10
Synchronized. Or synchronized, big jump, little jump. I've watched a bit of it all, but I hate it.
I mean, it's
passionately.
It's not my favorite to watch. Like, it's all right. It's like a less impressive gymnastics to me. Like, the consequence is less you land in water. You're just doing flips and making it look clean. It's about being, like, precise and elegant as you go into the water. It's not my favorite event to watch. I don't think I've watched really any of it this Olympics.
Yeah, for me, it's sort of fast-tracked me to being a parent. Because it's like, hang on, I'm watching someone jump into a pool like a kid and I'm judging their bomb dive? Like, what is this? I'm not a parent.
Like, there's a lot of splash on that one.
Yeah.
Can we minimize that? Can you enter a bit straighter?
But it's also not a race where you're wanting someone to slow down or someone to speed up. It's like, that looks pretty.
It's harder to get into. It's same with gymnastics. Like, it's impressive, but it's harder to get into because I don't know what scores well.
Exactly,
If you see they fell over, that's obviously not good. But when it's like a judge's scorecard, I don't... Like, did they win? Were they better than the other person? Like, I trust that these people know more than me. Like, but I had no idea until I see that. It's not as exciting where a sprint, a cycle,
it's so
you can see who wins, you can see who loses.
It's easy to determine.
Maybe they need to slow it down because it's a tight finish, but it's so much more exhilarating. It's like, no one decided. The person who was the best one. Like, you don't. There's always that era of like,
we watch it and we know, he was in front of everyone. It's so obvious who won.
He jumped higher than everyone else. Of course he
jumped longer, further, faster.
He threw that ball further than everyone else. Like, he threw the discus further than everyone else. Like, it's easy. It makes sense.
Give us things that are easy to determine, not subjective. Boxing's one of those ones as well, especially because it's 3 rounds. It is. There's probably not any knockouts because
No.
it's very difficult to knock someone out in 3 rounds.
And that's also, they have thicker gloves in boxing too, though. That's more padding than
I think I don't know what they use in the Olympics, yeah. But some of them, they're wearing headgear as well. So yeah, knockouts aren't happening. So it's strictly based on shots landed, significant blows, who sees from what angle, which judge thinks.
Yeah.
It's so subjective.
Subjective is so hard. Like,
And I think
in
that
boxing, at least, sometimes you can see what, like, it's obvious.
sometimes, but I think
Sometimes.
I think that's sort of hurts boxing as a sport though. Whereas with the UFC, you can actually pretty well know who won because there's not many things you can't do as well. It's a lot easier to determine who's winning, I feel.
You reckon?
I feel like it is.
Yeah, there are some fights where it's really difficult, but if there's a guy on top of the other guy on the ground, he's probably going to win that. It's pretty obvious. Like,
And
in that regard.
there's too many boxing fights that come down to points. So it's for me, I like to watch something and it almost be so obvious I can't
There's
not
a
know
definitive
who
ending.
won.
There's a definitive ending.
Yeah.
That's the exciting bit where it's...
And the swimming does that. The 100-meter sprinting does that. All those events that are time-based or position-based do that.
Team sports, for the most part, do that.
They
Like,
do that.
In the Olympics, they do that where there's no draws. It's like...
Exactly, yeah. Which
winner or
team got
loser.
the most points?
Yeah.
But boxing is one of those ones where you want the most points, but who decided you got the most points?
Because it's
When
like...
it wasn't that obvious.
Yeah, it's like the purity of sport is... It is you are better than the person you are versing. And fundamentally, it's obvious who wins those things. You're not having someone from the outside determine that for their reasoning, you did better than that person. So in the sports where it brings it into it, it's not quite the same as a sport where it's so obvious that this person won, this person lost. Like, at our roots, we want to see someone win, someone lose. We don't want them to be, he decided he
I want to
won.
be able to spit in their face when they lose.
He decided he won because he thinks he did this better than the other person. But this person didn't quite agree, but that one agreed with them, so therefore they went for it.
I'm still recovering from Zach Stubblety-Cook winning. I'm actually pretty good now, but for 2 days my voice was gone. Like, it actually hurt. And I got to work the day after. I'm like, I actually think I need to drink some olive oil here because I need something to lube up my
Move up
throat.
the throat, bro.
And I loved watching his race.
There's Australian doing well, like on the verge of winning.
Yeah.
This morning I was screaming. I'm like, come on. High fives all around. No one wanted to high five me. Just didn't want to high five me. It's like, all right. But I was so happy, so excited. There's just something about it.
And I don't know enough about Zach Stubblety-Cook's swimming style, but that 200-meter breaststroke, that final, his start wasn't that flash. It didn't look like it. His first 100-meter was mediocre. He's up there, but
Wasn't doing
winning
anything definitive.
fourth, fifth, like it's all there. Everything's available. And even going into that third lap, that 150 meters, but once he turned off the blocks to head home for that last 50, that was a phenomenal turn that sort of instantly moved him from just around everyone else to almost ahead. Not quite leading. And then he just perfectly timed it, and so that it was only in the last 10 meters, 15 meters that he actually got ahead. But you knew he was just going ahead. His pace was faster than everyone else, and that the further the pool went, that distance went, he was just extending that lead. And it was just beautiful seeing him come home and finish.
It's like swimming. They know what we want to see. They don't want it to be a clear-cut winner in front. At least these ones. The person just comes through and just gets it at the end. Like
Yeah.
It seems like that happens so much in that sport, and it's just so exciting. It just happens to be the one we're rooting for at the moment.
Yeah.
Australia tends to be the one,
which makes it good.
Oh.
Or then you got Dressel or Ledecky.
Yeah, the American swimmers are also very, quite good.
Very good. Caleb Dressel yesterday, he did 3 events in 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty quick turnarounds.
He did the 100-meter butterfly, set the world record, beat Matt Temple.
Yeah.
Then he went to some secret pool that the commentators were saying that no one really has access to, but because he's got such a short turnaround of events, we're giving him access to this pool. just to get some lactic acid out of the system. So he swims a 200-meter butterfly, sets the Olympic record. He then goes and does a 50-meter freestyle semi-final, wins that, has one breath over 50 meters, and then he ended up winning the 50-meter freestyle, but didn't take any breaths, no breaths, in 20 seconds while going your heart out. And then after that, he had the 100-meter mixed medley relay, 4x100.
It's impressive, but is it that hard to recover for that in that short amount of time? Like, surely that's not that crazy a turnaround. Because they're all really short events. Is it that dramatic a thing? Because you hear about every year there's someone who has to do something very similar. Like, these guys conditioned... I mean, it's still very impressive, but is it that hard for them to recover from one sprint and then go to...
They know what their schedule would look like. Yeah. So... And it's not that hard because he's still winning.
Yeah.
But it would have a insane toll on your body. Like, they're probably sleeping 12, 13 hours just to be able to recover in time.
Yeah, what's it like to do, even though it's 20 seconds, but you're exerting yourself completely in swimming, which is ridiculous. Like,
what does that look like? What does it look like when you've maxed out? Because we've seen it with the running. We've seen what Pat Tiernan looks like when he maxes out. Because that's you swerving like you are on a late night driving home drunk. But
don't recommend.
No, don't. But that's what it looks like in running. But swimming, what does that physical exhaustion look like?
I know. Yeah, have we seen that? What happens?
Is it going to the bottom of the pool?
Does it ever happen? I've never seen it happen. There must be. So that's their conditioning.
I wonder if your self-preservation mechanisms or bodily systems kick in more there, because if you're in that position, do you just start swallowing water? What are you gonna do? Maybe your body just forces you to slow down because I feel like if in Pat Tiernan's situation, if you're in that condition, your body the swimming equivalent would be swallowing water, verging drowning.
Not good, yeah.
So I feel like maybe your body slows you down before it can get to that stage.
Maybe, or maybe just the conditioning is just different in that sport, because the furthest they go is 1,500 meters, and so even though it's difficult,
True.
it's only 1,500 meters, so it's tougher for your body to get to a point where it's as depleted of all its resources as Pat. What was his name? Sorry,
Pat Tiernan.
Pat Tiernan, yeah.
But he's then racing the 5,000 meter.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Why wouldn't I?"
Yeah.
It's the Olympics. It's the Olympics, baby.
I hope he's had 2 days to recover. It was yesterday, wasn't it?
It was Friday night.
It was Friday
night.
Oh, okay.
So he's got plenty of time. And this is the thing, because I think he's racing tomorrow. Sorry, actually maybe he's not. I think he might be doing the 5,000 meter on Tuesday.
Right.
But here's the thing, you've got a bunch of people asking questions. Will he have time to recover? You've got non-athletes questioning whether they can recover in time.
That's what I mean. I have no doubt that they can.
They can.
If Dressel can do 3 races in 30 minutes, he can come back. He's got 3 days to.
I can't speak on a swimmer's turnaround, but running, I feel comfortable to speak on, and unless he's injured himself physically, which I don't think he has. I think he just depleted himself. He's fine.
Yeah. You would think, because that's the whole part of the vigorous training is so your body can recover quicker.
Your body's in such a peak state that your body recovers so quickly.
Yeah, he's as good as he's ever looked, I'm sure. That's in the best condition as he could be. So no doubt that he could come back and it's 5,000 meter Moyes event, or is 10,000 meter?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
I'm not sure. Yeah, but there's a lot of overlap between the 5,000 meter, 10,000 meter runners.
I can imagine there would be
there's very little. Yeah, it's all like the 100, 200 meter swimming. It's same crew, different crowd.
Different tactics though, same crew, different crowd. Makes sense.
So much sense.
Kind of. There's no crowd this time, but yeah.
Yeah.
The the tactics again? I'll learn about the tactics when I watch that.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're obviously going to be a more consistently quicker pace, I'd imagine.
Exactly, yeah. That's
5,000 meters.
They'll go around, sub 13. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. I can't comprehend because I've never done it. But you've competed
I can't run
level.
I can't run at the pace, and I would say I'm quicker than 99% 99% of people, because
Yeah.
we're watching the top 0.01.
Yeah.
I'm way quicker than 99% of people, but I can't run 1 kilometer at the pace they run 10. I can't run 1 kilometer at the pace that the marathons run 1 kilometer at. Like,
They're just
yeah. So,
it's a different tier, like
Yeah.
different level of. But is that just because you don't train as much as them? You reckon?
of course.
Because like your age, that's probably like you're probably fine. Like is running an older prime or is
It depends.
around?
It depends.
Like, 'cause I wonder.
It depends on the events. Marathon runners, like,
They're a bit older. Aren't they?
yeah,
Typically,
exactly.
Like 30s.
Exactly, yeah. But sprinting, it's sort of like a running back in the NFL.
Yeah,
You're 22, 23, sort
yeah.
of. That's your spot. So it definitely depends. But it also, like, when you get to the 5,000 meter, 10,000 meter, a lot of it depends on how many kilometers you're running each week. So one of my mates, he feels pretty comfortable because he's only running 120 Ks a week at the moment. But a lot of the guys running the 1,500 meter and the 5K, that's his event, are running 180. So while he isn't making the Olympics, he's not far off, but he's got so much more that he can train that he hasn't utilized yet. So he goes,
Yeah.
like, when I get to that 180K a week mark, I'm feeling very confident with where I'll be at. So age comes into it, but I think also just the volume as well.
Yeah. There's so much.
And because he hasn't run 180 Ks a week yet, so he's 22 now, that means his career will be a little bit longer because he hasn't
exerted that,
exactly.
or, like,
He doesn't
that strain
spend
on
that
his body or whatever.
yet. Yeah,
It's interesting because that's the only reason he's not doing 180 because he wants to.
he will
wants
get
to
up.
be.
He
wants
will
to be
get
a
up to
banana.
180.
He's
Yeah,
just working his way
Yeah.
there. No rush.
exactly. Yeah.
Good coaching, probably. Like, don't push yourself.
Yeah.
You don't need to be there yet. You'll
Well,
get there.
He still has the coach that I used to have when I was training with him, and he believes in an older runner. So that's, and whether that's the right philosophy or not, but that's what he's training him for. But thanks for tuning into the episode tonight.
Thank
Don't
you.
forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and Mariana's still
Yeah.
playing.
Yep.
Harry's still fighting. So check out their
Maeve-
episodes.
Maeve's got her race.
Maeve just finished her race.
I thought she had one Tuesday.
Yeah, but they've already watched it.
That's correct.
It's already happened. Yeah.
Maeve has just had her event.
She's just had her event, but you can go back and watch the event on the 7 News app, and you can go listen to the show. But I feel like that's been the cool part, like plugging the podcast while people are watching. So it's
Yeah.
like, watch the event, but first watch the podcast. But yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
See you later.